Welcome to Insights into Northeast Michigan, a WBKB News public affairs program. Insights deals with the issues affecting those within the community, as well as Northeast Michigan and the state. And now, Insights into Northeast Michigan.
Welcome to Insights. I'm Sherry Stewart. We're pleased to bring you our program this week from the new terminal at the Alpena County Regional Airport. And joining me to talk about everything related to travel coming out of this new terminal is the manager, Steve Smigelski. Well, Steve, I want to thank you for joining me today to talk about this fabulous terminal here at the airport.
Well, thank you for the opportunity, Sherry.
And I understand that it's a major upgrade from the old terminal, but let's just talk about it. You opened in March, right?
Yep, March 3rd we had our soft opening, and we were anticipating having a grand opening ribbon cutting in May, but circumstances have taken that away from us.
But that doesn't stop us from enjoying this airport. So what are some of the upgrades that people will experience as they come in to fly out?
Well, first, the size of the building. The old terminal was 6,900 square feet, and the new building is just under 13,000. So there's plenty of room. There's plenty of room to spread out. You're not crowded like you were in the old terminal. The heating and air conditioning is actually good here. The old terminal, it was hit and miss. Plus there's lots of amenities, such as the seating is better. Just about everywhere you're going to sit here, there's going to be a charger available. So.
I see that's really convenient for our travelers, certainly our business travelers or those with, their electronics. So.
And we all need those these days.
We absolutely do, absolutely do. So you do have some exciting news in terms of the flight schedule. So tell us a little bit about that as we get into the summer months.
Well, in April, early April, we were cut down to one flight per day. A lot of airports, they either were cut down to one flight today or some got completely cut out. The news I got today was, I don't have a specific day, but in July we're going to be going back up to 2 flights a day.
Yay!
So that's very good news.
That's good news. So those 2 flights are going to be going to, is Detroit the final destination of those 2 flights?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Is it a morning and afternoon flight?
Right now I can't say for certain because we were told that under our new Essential Air Service contract, we weren't going to be paired with Pellston anymore. So it was looking like 2 nonstop flights to Detroit. I think that the flight planners and the routers at the airlines are probably about ready to go mad with everything that's happening. So we're waiting to see what they come up with for the flight schedule for us.
So in terms of COVID-19 and the whole pandemic, and we know that so many industries, and obviously our travel industry has had to adjust and make changes. What are some of the changes that this airport has had to make? Well,
the county end of it, we put in more hand sanitizers, and we instituted a rigorous cleaning program to include the vending machines, the ATM machine, anything that had a touchpad or something like a doorknob, door handle, push bars. All that was cleaned off on a daily basis. TSA, they started doing their own decontamination, if you will, process. And the airline, when the airplane comes in, the airplane actually gets fogged. So they disinfect the aircraft when it comes in. So there's been a lot of steps taken just here in Alpena to ensure people are safe when they travel.
Now, in terms of security, is your security, is it on par with, is the typical, I believe it's recommended that you arrive for domestic flights, at least a couple hours before, but obviously this is a much smaller airport, so what do you recommend, or what are your standards there?
Well, it's a smaller airport than Detroit Metro.
Yeah, certainly.
But you should still get here at least an hour before your flight. And that way that gives you plenty of time to get your bags checked, to move through TSA. And with our new hold room, it's a lot more comfortable than it was in the old building. So if you show up a little early and you wait a little bit, it's not going to be nearly as painful as it used to be.
So Steve, we know that the industries, as we talked about, have had to make all kinds of adjustments. How has COVID-19 impacted the flow of traffic in and out of the airport?
Well, like just about everybody, we really took a beating. Since 2017 to 2019, we were seeing steady increases in our numbers. Last year, we finished up with just over 12,400 people coming through the airport. And in January and February of this year, we were beating last year's monthly numbers by 100 passengers each month. and then they dropped down to 63.
Oh my.
And then last month we had 99. So the bright side of that is we increased our travel by 1/3. So I think that as people get more confident in the safety measures that are being taken, I think the numbers are really going to improve nicely. People are probably tired of being basically cooped up by stay-at-home orders, and especially our business travelers. They were really hurt with these lockdowns because you know, salesmen do their business face-to-face. And it's not the same when you have to do it on a Zoom call.
Yeah, right. It's convenient, but it's certainly not the same. And that was going to lead me to my next question. What is your typical traveler, if there is one? Is it mostly business travelers or those that have had pent up, and, you know, want to get out of here? So what is your typical traveler like?
Typically, we've got a pretty good split, 50-50 between the two, but there are times like spring break or summer vacations. That's when the family traffic dwarfs the business traffic.
Okay.
But yeah, we have a pretty strong representation on a daily basis from both classes.
So the airline that services the airport is Delta?
Yes, Delta Airlines. They however have SkyWest is the ones that operate the regional jets for them.
Okay.
Delta wants to be into big jets and hubs.
Okay.
So you have companies like SkyWest that they take up the regionals. And that's what we are, as a regional.
Okay, all right. So do you foresee any other airline, a company, or will it always be that particular one, Delta?
Well, Delta's, they've been very good for us, and SkyWest is an excellent partner. So having said that, as your numbers keep increasing, other airlines will eventually take interest in you.
Sure.
We're not courting anybody at this point in time because SkyWest, as I said, they've been excellent for us. They've worked very hard with us. They actually reduced ticket prices for us. They've worked hard to get us better schedules. I can't say enough good about SkyWest.
That's good. That's good. I understand that. So, Steve, we will take a break and we'll be right back to talk more about the new terminal at the airport.
Insights will return after these messages.
Welcome back, everyone. We're continuing our conversation with Steve Smigelski, the manager at the Alpena County Regional Airport. And so, Steve, I know that you are so proud of the work that's happened, this full-on renovation. Tell me about the process. I understand that it was about, what, 13 months or so?
Yeah, 13 months start to finish. There was 1 full year that was in the design of the building. And then once FAA approved the grant and gave us the discretionary money, they had 13 months. And that included the demolition of the old 16,000 square foot hangar that used to be here, doing all the prep work, getting the building built, but that wasn't all of it. They also redid all of our parking lots out front, added another parking lot to the north of this building, and the ramp outside the windows here, that had to be extended and widened. So there was a lot of work that got done in 13 months.
And like I said, it is absolutely just fabulous. So what has the feedback been like from people in the area, the Alpena residents, county, regional? What has feedback been like?
I have not heard a negative comment yet. And you know, you get a lot of people, you're usually going to hear something. I have not heard a negative comment yet. That'll probably change now.
Yeah. Well, hopefully it won't. Hopefully it won't, because it really is. It's really nicely done. A lot of conveniences, a lot of modern upgrades. You were talking about a new public address system.
Oh yes, yes. We in the old building we had a simple push-to-talk system where they would do the boarding calls and such. But with the new building, we put in a public address system that's fully automated, and it takes care of things like regulatory announcements that have to be made, such as don't leave your bags unattended, and COVID announcements. There's all sorts of things.
Now, what do you see in terms of travel going forward out of regional airports like this one, or even our larger airports? Do you see more people traveling? I know as things are relaxed in terms of social distancing and things of that nature. What do you foresee?
I think that things are going to come back faster than what people are predicting.
And that would be good news.
Yes, it would be. Very good for everybody. You know, there was a lot of people that have a lot of frustration from having to stay home, as we discussed earlier. Not just families going on vacation, but also, you know, your business class. So, and you're starting to see it with the TSA numbers. Last week, they improved the numbers by almost 80,000 per day this week. So things are coming up, and they're coming up faster.
That's good. And so we know that probably people have some bent up, just need to get anywhere, okay? Anywhere a flight is going, they're ready to go and get some new scenery or something like that.
Yeah, well, Americans are used to being able to go where they want, when they want. So this has been definitely a new experience for everybody.
You know, we've heard too that unfortunately COVID-19, we've had to take a look at how we actually are keeping things sanitized and clean. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, you know, it's always a good thing. You know, there's a lot of things like the social distancing thing. I know my wife loves it that now people can't be closer than 6 feet to her when she's in the line at the grocery store. But there's a lot of good things that have come from this, because let's face it, COVID-19 isn't the only thing. This is going to help with just the flu, the common cold, everything. And if we've got aircraft getting fogged and such, I think that's all good stuff in the end.
Now tell me what exactly happens when they do fog the aircraft. What does that look like?
Well, what they do is, first of all, they clean the entire aircraft, they vacuum the floors, and then when they're all done with that, they actually have a fogging machine that looks like something that you would take into your garden. And it's got a disinfectant mix in it, and they completely fog the aircraft front to back. So if there's any germs on the surfaces, the disinfectant kills it.
And this happens every time an aircraft is emptied and it's sitting here on the runway? Or...
Yes.
Okay. How long does that process take?
Not long. When the aircraft comes in, they usually have a 45-minute turn is what they're looking to accomplish.
Okay.
And even with the new steps, they've still been getting the planes out with very minimal delays. More often than not, they're getting them out on time.
Okay, so that's another safety measure that we can know is happening, is that when you step into the aircraft, at least here, it's been fogged.
It's clean and it's ready to go, and yes, you're very good to go flying out of Alpena.
And so the aircraft, it's what, 50 passengers you said?
Yeah, it's an RJ200.
It's 50 passengers, and how many flight crew does that vary?
You got the pilot, co-pilot, and then you've got the flight attendant, so a crew of 3.
Okay, very nice. And it's that, what is it to Detroit? What, about 45 minutes or so from here?
Yeah, about 45 minutes.
Okay.
Weather's good and nothing's happening untoward. Yeah, 40, 45 minutes.
Very nice. And Steve, you've been with the airport for years, I believe.
I've been 5 years on the civilian side, and I did another 22 years with the CRTC on the military side. Okay,
so you've seen a lot, obviously, in this industry. What are some of the most striking things that you've seen as this industry has, made changes, obviously now with COVID-19, but perhaps with new technology? What are some of the interesting things that you believe you've seen?
Oh, well, when I first started out with all this stuff, you didn't have such things as like the GPS approach. Now GPS is everywhere. It's in your cars, it's on your phone.
For sure.
And the aircraft use that in conjunction with the ILS system, the Instrumented Landing System.
Okay.
Just radios that used to be, I'm not exaggerating when I say they were 2 feet by 1 foot. They're big and heavy. Now these little radios, they're a quarter the size and they work even better.
Okay.
There's been a lot of technological advancements, the safety advancements. I mean, you hardly ever hear of any mishaps with aircraft. They're very rare in this country. And that's just because the safety measures have been improving, the equipment's been improving, the way the air traffic control helps separate and control the airspace, that's all part of it.
Now that is excellent news to know that we have steadily advanced in terms of technology to make flying even safer.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely. Well, Steve, we will take a quick break and we will be back to talk more about these new upgrades at the airport.
Okay, sounds good.
All right.
Insights will return after these messages.
Welcome back, everyone. We're continuing our conversation with Steve Smigelski, the manager of the Alpena County Regional Airport. And Steve, I know that the airport recently received almost $18 million funding in response to the CARES Act. So tell us about how you were selected to receive this funding and what are your plans to use the money?
Well, part of what they used in their calculations at the federal level to determine how much money each airport got was they wanted to figure out what 4 years of your operating costs were going to be, but then they also factored in debt. And debt is the way that the FAA writes contracts. It's like, okay, we're going to give you, say, for an example, a $10 million grant, all right? But the way that the wording is if anything goes wrong, you're responsible for paying off the entire grant. So that's considered a debt load to who the sponsor is. Well, when we did the design of the building, that was $1 million in debt load right there. Plus we had purchased a sweeper, so that was another $560,000. But the part that really came into play for the amount of money that we got was the construction of the new terminal.
Sure.
And that was $13 million all by itself. So for anybody wondering how we got that money, it's because the county had to encumber itself. So now what we can do is we can apply to have all of our debt in this written off. So for the $1.5 million that came out for the bond issue, we're going to get that money returned to us. Needless to say, we don't have to pay the whole $13 million because the federal government is still in business. But it worked out very nicely for us. And some of the things that we're going to do with that money is we've already taken the steps to hire 2 more people for Alpena ground services.
Okay.
So that helps us out immensely in the wintertime when they're having to fight the snow and the ice.
Oh, sure.
We're also...
So these will be seasonal employees, is that?
Full-time.
Full-time, okay.
Yeah. And they'll all be squared away through the CARES Act. We're also going to be adding some equipment that usually isn't eligible under the Airport Improvement Program. And that's going to be, I mean, it doesn't sound like much, but a brand new tractor with a brand new brush hog to try to keep all the grass down out there on the airfield, that's big stuff.
Yeah.
But probably the most important thing that we're going to do is we're going to invest heavily in revenue generators for the airport.
Okay, so what does that look like?
That's going to, if we, right now RS&H is doing a land study for us because of the amount of construction we want to do. They told me you're essentially building a new aeronautical complex, so we want to make sure everything goes in the right place. Because we want to build 20 hangars.
Okay.
And that's for private aircraft. We also want to replace the old terminal with a larger building that's going to look a lot like the new terminal.
Like this one here?
Yes.
Okay.
And the ultimate plan for that one is to link the 2 buildings, have a bar and a restaurant in the new building, plus have it large enough so that we can do things like weddings, graduation parties, turn it into a community hall. And one of the other things we did was we had to tear down a 16,000 square foot hangar to construct the new terminal. If all goes well, we're going to be replacing that with a 20,000 square foot, and that's going to give us a lot of opportunities to create more revenue. How does that help? Okay, well, the County of Alpena basically pays $500,000 a year to keep the airport running. Now we make our own money, but not enough to offset the $500,000. So since we've got this basically once in a lifetime opportunity, if we can build enough revenue generators that we can reduce the amount of money we take from the county by $200,000, that's $200,000 more that they've got for other more important programs, like the old folks and the parks, recreation. And we'd like to see that money go someplace useful as well.
And I'm sure they welcome you bringing on these revenue generating opportunities. So how far off are you with some of these plans? I know you mentioned perhaps weddings, a restaurant and bar. How far are you off from actually seeing those recommendations come to fruition?
Well, they're doing the land study for us first. I'm really hoping that they have that done for us within the next 60 to 90 days.
Okay.
We would like to start construction of the new hangars for the private aircraft before the snow flies.
Okay.
It's probably going to take a year for them to design the new building. So we probably won't have the new twin to this building for probably 2 years until the ribbon's cut.
Okay.
But hopefully within 4 years, we're going to have everything built, everything will be established, and we're going to be doing business out here.
Okay, so that is exciting news. That's some more good news for the airport.
Yes.
And so I guess I could ask you, where were you when you got the news that you heard about the airport being selected to receive this funding from the CARES Act? Were you excited? Did you anticipate it? What was your first reaction? Because it's fantastic news.
I was on a teleconference with FAA and the Department of Transportation when they made the announcement. And it was at that point in time that they released the spreadsheets that had everybody's amount on it. So I eagerly opened up the spreadsheet on my computer, went to Alpena, and thought, that's got to be a typo. So I called the airport's district office for the FAA, and I asked them to confirm it, and they says, no, that's the amount you're getting. And I called Chairman Adrian, and I told Bob, I says, I got some news about the CARES Act. And he says, okay, what? I says, we're getting some money. And he says, okay, how much? I says, almost $18 million. And he started that laugh like, quit pulling my leg. And I said, no, really, we're getting $18 million.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Yeah, it was big news all the way around.
That is that the most funding that this airport has received, I guess, in a lump sum like that?
Yes. I believe so, because even during World War II, when the military took it over and they built the runways that are out there now, there was no way that cost $18 million. So this is undoubtedly the biggest influx of funding that the airport's ever received.
Well, that's excellent news. And as we get into the colder months, as we get into, and we know that that's in just another, I don't know, maybe 3.5 months as we get into the traditional holiday travel with Thanksgiving and Christmas around the corner, do you anticipate even more travelers coming in and out of the airport?
I do. As I said, I believe that the travel industry is going to come back a lot faster than people are saying it is, and we welcome it.
Absolutely. Anything else you would like us to know about the airport, other than to come and take a flight out of here?
You're always welcome to take a flight.
Right.
Come out and see us. The landscapers are almost finished with the job. The jet bridge is complete. We're probably one day away from the entire project being complete. So please come on out, have a look at what we've done.
Well, you've done a great job.
Well, I had a lot of help. I can't take the credit myself, but thank you.
Well, that does it for this week's Insights. If you have a question, comment, or story idea, we'd love to hear from you. You can contact us at news@wbkb11.com. I'm Sherry Stewart. Thank you again for watching.
Insights into Northeast Michigan is produced by WBKB News. This has been a production of Thunder Bay Broadcasting Corporation. All rights reserved.